Ram Nomi's over. I've been, a little sharing, I've been preparing for and participating in, and then afterwards for like 3 weeks, morning and evening. Wonderful, inspiring topic. Of course, then there's the mixture of audiences that are, some want to hear something new and some are new and they want to hear something they can follow. So it's been an interesting journey for 3 weeks. But now we're getting ready for the next wave. Next wave, Nishinga Chaturdasi, with a little mix in between of different Vaishnava acharyas appearing and disappearing. So this is something more general. Pride. One of the statements I make regularly, because I understand it's true, there's one thing that can destroy everything good, and that's pride. Pride can destroy anything and everything. Something that's good, mix in a little pride, and it's destroyed quickly. Don't. It's the flip side or the nemesis of humility. There's a nice dictionary definition of nemesis: the inescapable agent of someone's downfall. Pretty strong word, isn't it? Inescapable agent of someone's downfall. Nemesis. Inescapable. Here's a fellow trying to hang on for his dear life, and someone tried to help him, but he's too much attached to that bag. And so he's in a dangerous position. Very dangerous position. Another way of saying the same thing, pride can destroy anything good. Beware of the beast named pride. Because pride, a way of breaking it down into its parts, there's the I and mine conception. The material conception of life is I and mine. But the mine is the possession or the material, the portion of what is mine. I have pride in what is mine. Of course, nothing is mine. But if I think that I am this body, then what's mine is that which comes from this body. So my work and attachment to the fruits of work and what the fruits of work can buy. And so my house and my bank balance and my taxes and my invoices and unpaid bills and debt, and that's all mine. Just like, at least in Vedic culture or traditional culture, the son inherits the property of the father, and the son inherits the debts of the father. So if the father dies a debtor, the son inherits the debts. It doesn't just get liquidated or absolved. So mine, you're losing your dhoti. Not used to wearing a dhoti, I can tell. Very good, very good. Thank you. Especially the people over here, thank you. Front row seat. Yeah. No, 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 no. Because this is, it's more contrast. So the pride is the mind portion of the I and mine. There are different ways of saying the same thing. Here's the Bible, book of Proverbs. Pride goeth before the fall. Pride goeth before the fall. So someone's up, but if they're proud, they go down, they fall. Pride goeth before the fall. What's the source of pride? Or sources of pride? This is another one many of you have heard me say. Fruits of piety plus a heart that's impure equals pride. Oops. Wrecker ball. Pride. Or, here's another one. I'm big and you're small. These are, in Madhurya Kandambani, the very same language isn't used, but is in essence, Madhurya Kandambani teaches the same. And it's easy to let it into the heart, and it's not easy to get it out of the heart. It's one of those, it's not a two-way street exactly. And for one who is an elevated Vaishnava, there's another source of pride. This is from Madhurya Kandambani. Labha, puja, and pratishtha. Labha, puja, and pratishtha. So when one attains or obtains something, or one is worshipped or appreciated, or profit, adoration, distinction, pratishtha. So be little successful in devotional service, not too successful, because you might have people getting envious, but a little successful, and these things come. And when they come, and the heart is impure, it's a problem. A big problem. So the answer isn't don't be successful, but be successful. But beware as you're progressing in spiritual life for this profit, adoration, distinction, nemesis, or fall down, source of fall down, guaranteed source of fall down. Anishtata bhakti. This is also from Madhurya Kandambani. Anishtata is distinct from nishtha. So unsteady bhakti, according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his description, one of the categories of unsteady bhakti is taranga rangani, so playing in the waves. So there's some success, and the waves are moving as one is a little successful, and one wants to become the enjoyer of the waves, like go surfing. Enjoy the waves. Enjoying the facilities that are offered by bhakti. Now, materialists want to enjoy the facilities offered by their fruitive activity, the mind. But supposing one is looking beyond the mind and one is looking towards Krishna, then there's some little success, some little waves of success in bhakti, and then wanting to be the enjoyer of the facilities offered by bhakti. It's a slippery slope. I mean, it's not like damned if you do and damned if you don't, but it's if you do, be very careful, be very cautious. Okay, here comes our Hare Krishna ritual. Nice big rose flowers. Very nice. Enjoying the facilities offered by bhakti. Should be a bigger one. Or a more frequent one, or a more colorful one, or a more, a better one. Prabhupada, little Prabhupada story. He arrived in Los Angeles, and that after he came to the temple, there was, reception at the temple and this and that. And there were some newspaper reporters. It's something that they like to do, and the devotees like to arrange reporters to come. And so the first question the reporter asked, Swamiji, when they picked you up at the airport, they picked you up in this big fancy limousine. I thought sannyasis are renounced people, are supposed to be detached from these things. And Prabhupada, didn't skip a beat. He says it wasn't good enough. Should have been a gold car. And the reporter didn't know what to say to that. And he said, because the disciple wants to should be seeing their spiritual master as good as God. So they want to offer the nicest. So it wasn't nice enough. It should have been a gold car. Anyway, it's one way to deal with envious people. Throw it back at them. Prabhupada was a good tennis player. Enjoying the facilities offered by Bhakti, Taranga Rangani. So what happens when there is some recognition for you've done something nicely? Every now and then who knows, we can do something nicely. And when we do something nicely, people may say something nice. Oh, you did something nicely. Not like I'm surprised, but well done, well done, well done. So what do you do when that happens? There's facilities or some honor that comes from something that's well done. And, sincerely or truthfully, factually, it's well done. Maybe well done. And when it's well done or some recognition, appreciation, you can go the other way. What happens when you don't get? And you don't get. So something's... There's another feeling. But supposing there's recognition. When there's recognition for some small success that you may have accomplished in devotional life, the main message is it doesn't stick. You can say no. That, the Brihat Bhagavatamrita, there's some personalities that say no to Narada Muni. No, not me. This is my disqualification. That's possible. But even better than no is that which you're recognizing comes from some source. Recognition should go to that source. So the honor, what you're saying is nice because it's meant for that source. And you point to the source. Anything that's good comes from that source. Anything that's not good, that's me. Or my material baggage. But something good, that's from this other source. So honor goes to those personalities. Or ultimately, it goes to Krishna. In Brahma Vaivarta Purana, there's this nice saying. Lord Krishna is never far away from they who are humble. Many tall mountains stand between Lord Krishna and they who are proud. Now, there's past times where Krishna it speaks as if the gopis become proud and Krishna, poof, he just disappears. Now, if gopis have pride, it's not like what you and I might have. But they're feeling something special. That, wow, here we are with Krishna. How fortunate we are to be with Krishna. So they're feeling the kindness of Krishna and feeling happy with the kindness of Krishna. When that happiness is experienced, what's important to ask for us, to ask ourselves, who's at the center? Is Krishna at the center, Or am I at the center or somewhere in between? For most of us, it's somewhere in between. But that Krishna should be happy, that's good. And if we're feeling that we're getting the mercy of Krishna or Krishna's kind representatives, and that's good. The kindness, being receptive and receiver of kindness is good. But there are pastimes that speak of the gopis becoming proud, so Krishna disappears. And when Krishna disappears, they go mad. Here's some nice paintings. Both are with full moons at night. In one case, Krishna is hiding up in the branches of the tree to see what they're going to do next. And they go mad. They start imitating Krishna, performing activities of Krishna. They want to remember. They are remembering Krishna always. And in the absence of Krishna, they play act Krishna. Krishna this and that and the other thing and the other thing. And singing his glories, etc., etc. So Krishna likes that. But when there's this pride, it's like a mountain. It's unsurpassable. A mountain between Krishna and the one who's proud. From Vaivarta Purana. Here's another statement. The intelligent serve the Lord by remembrance. Those subject to pride do not attain the Lord, even though they may encounter him. And there's many, many nice examples. One of my favorite examples is the washerman. And then after the washerman, next time you have a Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, read when Krishna encounters the washerman, what Krishna says to the washerman. And then read what Krishna says to the florist. And read what Krishna says to the weaver. And it's almost the same thing. I mean, the introduction, because Krishna is not asking on his behalf, he's asking on behalf of the cowherd boys. Now, the cowherd boys are coming to Mathura because they were invited by Kamsa, but they're going in cowherd boy attire. And it's not so appropriate to enter the big city in cowherd boy attire. So he wants attire that matches the big city. So he sees a washerman and he asks, on behalf of the boys, please give some garments for these boys so they can dress properly. And the washerman gets really haughty. Do you know who these clothes belong to? This is the property of the king. If the king were to hear you asking for his clothes, he'd finish you, yada, yada, yada. That was it. Krishna walked up to him, you know the story, and with the tips of his fingers, he didn't do a judo chop, the tips of his fingers just separated the speaking part of his body from the rest of his body. And of the washerman. And then they divvied up the clothes and everything was fine. So they had nice attire. And Krishna took some nice attire too. And when Indra similarly didn't understand the position of Krishna, and he did what Indra did, the torrential rain and so forth and so on. But when he realized, I've offended the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he came on his knees, riding on the back of Airavata and offering wonderful prayers. The Bhagavatam is very nice. The lessons are very simple, and what to do, what not to do. Very simple. Very sweet. Please go to the sacrificial arena where brahmanas are performing the Angirasa sacrifice to gain promotion to heaven. These brahmanas were not Vaishnavas. This is Krishna sending the cowherd boys to get something because he was hungry. So go ask the brahmanas. They're doing a yajna. They've got lots of stuff. Just let them spare some stuff. But they weren't Vaishnavas, and they were ready to spare some stuff. There's the cowherd boys with their arms outstretched, ready to receive some contribution. No way. They just ignored them. But, you know the story. Then when the cowherd boys came back disappointed, he said, go to the wives. And not only they were ready, but they prepared and came and brought everything personally. Look at all these preparations they brought. Just because Krishna's asking, even if Krishna isn't asking. Here's another nice painting of the same. The wives of the Brahmanas, now they're not Vaishnava Brahmanas or Brahmanis, but they're Brahmanas. They brought items for Krishna and Balaram to eat. They were not learned like their husbands, but they actually lived their lives according to the essence of the Vedas. We're only beginning. There's many, many more things to say. One of the more things to say is in Manashiksha, one of the essential teachings in Manashiksha, Sada Dam Bham Hitva Dam Bham. It even sounds bad. Dam Bham. Always give up pride. Hitva. So here's Mukunda singing this nice verse from Manashiksha, which you all know. And little assistance from his good wife and other musicians.
Sadadambam hitva kururatima purvamaditara aye svantar bratash chatubiraviyache dritapada.
Very pleasing sound, huh? And?
Oh, dear brother, oh mine, having given up all pride, please develop unprecedented and excessive attachment to Sri Guru, to Sri Vrindavan, the abode of cows, to the devotee residence of Vrindavan, to all the devotees on this planet, to the confidential mantra given by Sri Guru, to the holy names of Sri Sri Radha Krishna, and to the process of surrendering to the fresh, youthful couple of Raja. Holding your feet, I beseech you with sweet words.
It's very moving. I mean, the message of Manashiksha and the mood of Raghunath Das Goswami. This Manashiksha, and this particular verse also, but it's teaching the way of spontaneous devotional service. You take each of the parts and contemplate what he's indicating, giving up pride, then access to devotional service and ultimately spontaneous devotional service and pure love for Krishna through the medium of spontaneous devotional service. It can be accessed one by one by one. The do nots, and then there's one do not, and then all the other do's. So he's with humility beseeching us with sweet words to holding our feet. Raghunath, thus holding our feet. Shoo. To come to the stage of loving Krishna and his loving associates. More of words from our acharyas. Here's from Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Sharanagati songs, set of songs. There's these principles of surrender, and one of the first of the principles of surrender is dainya, or humility. Because remember back to the beginning, pride is the nemesis of humility, and without humility, how can you go forward? So here he's speaking very negatively. I am wrathful, devoted to false pride and arrogance, intoxicated by vanity. Of course, he's not, but he's speaking like one who is like that, and recognizing in humility his shortcomings. Nonetheless, let me take full shelter. Or another one of our great acharyas, Bhaktisiddhanta, give up weeds, give up pride, the weeds that choke the creeper of devotion. Choke the creeper of devotion. Weeds in gardens, anyone that's done a little gardening knows, water your garden, and what grows fastest? The weeds. And then you pull some weeds and water your garden, and there's more weeds. They grow very quickly. And they take the water from what you want to have grown, and so you have to be vigilant and remove the weeds as you're watering. Pride is one of the principal weeds, the weeds that choke the creeper of devotion. Here is Srila Prabhupada's statement. Very simple. One who has a simple and grateful heart can easily enter the kingdom of God. He looks like he's entered the kingdom of God for sure. Look at his eyes, listening. In the 6th canto Srimad Bhagavatam, we find, because of pride, Prajapati Daksha curses Narada Muni, like a role reversal. Daksha is a king, and he's cursing Narada Muni because Narada Muni did something he didn't like. Narada Muni liberated his 10,000 and 1,000 sons and came back to inform Daksha the good news. Your sons have they joined my Bhakti program. What? And so he cursed him. You won't be able to stay in one place for very long. But he's already doing that. He's a sannyasi. He's a renounced person. So it was a benediction. However, when he cursed or spoke badly of Lord Shiva, he had a little problem. He lost his head. And so to relieve his good wife, he got a goat's head instead. Pride. That both, and I cut it either way. The message at the end of this presentation is, go the other direction, go away from pride and go towards humility. Here we have Durvasa Muni, very, very powerful. You know the story. This is from the Bhagavatam. He didn't like the idea that there's a king on earth that's honored more than me, a Brahmana, not just a Brahmana, but a very, very very powerful Brahmana, and he's honored more than me. And so Durvasa Muni happened, coincidentally or by arrangement, he came to visit Maharishi Ambarish at the time that Maharishi Ambarish was breaking fast after a, a long vrata of fasting. And just as he was about to break the fast, Durvasa Muni came. And Durvasa Muni, so respect to Durvasa Muni, because he's a Brahmana, a very elevated, qualified Brahmana. So the king, Ambarish, said, "How wonderful! Please make this breaking of the fast even more auspicious. You break the fast first." Yes, I'll break the fast first. But first I have to perform my morning duties. Take bath and this and that and the other before breaking fast. So very well, but he's a meditator on the impersonal Brahman, so it took a long time. And the time was passing, and so Maharaj Ambarish asked his brahmanas what to do. I'm supposed to break the fast, but to break the fast before Durvasa Muni comes back, that's not a good idea. He'll become angry, and when he becomes angry, it's a problem. It's an offense. So brahmanas are clever. You know the story. The brahmanas said there's a way to break the fast and not break the fast. You worshipped your deity in the morning, take a little sip, a few drops of the water from bathing your deity on the Charnamrita, and you're breaking the fast and not breaking the fast. So, good suggestion. Thank you very much. So that's what he did. Few drops of water. Few drops of water. And when Durvasa Muni came back, "Aha! You broke the fast first. I curse you." And he grabbed some hair from his big hair head, dashed it to the ground with a mantra, and created a fiery demon. There's the fiery demon. Pointed at Maharishi Ambarish. "Get him! Kill him! He broke the fast first. Kill him!" Wow. Well, that was a big problem because Sudarshan Chakra was standing by the side of Maharishi Ambarish to protect him. Sudarshan Chakra came and killed the fiery demon, and the nature of mantras like this or curses like this, if it doesn't destroy the person who it's targeted, it comes back and destroys the person who uttered the mantra. And so the Sudarshan Chakra, after finishing the fire demon, started pursuing Maharishi Ambarish. You know the story. And so he went here, there, and elsewhere, and finally came back to Maharishi Ambarish being told by Vishnu, "I can't do anything. I'm not independent of my devotee. If my devotee says he forgives you, then your coast is clear. But my Sudarshan Chakra won't stop pursuing you until you take full shelter of Maharishi Ambarish." So pride is a problem. In this case, it's Durvasa Muni, and in this case, it's Indra. You know the story. Indra was having a big festival. He was being honored in Indra Puja, and Indra Loka, and singing and dancing and this thing and thatting. And while all that was going on, Brahaspati came. And he was so immersed in being honored and celebrated, he didn't even pay respects, didn't even pay attention, didn't even acknowledge that his spiritual master came. And so Brahaspati, that's on the right side there, he just turned and left. And when he turned and left, the benedictions that gave strength to Indra were gone. So Indra had not a little problem, he had a big problem. He had offended his spiritual master. And so pride, when one becomes the enjoyer of a little success, can be very, very problematic. Very problematic. Many of you know the little example from Chaitanya Charitamrita where the illustration on the upper right shows Balabhata, the head of the Pushti Marg Sampradaya. However, it's not that Balabhata, but I didn't have a different drawing. Another Bhatta, a learned person whose name happened to also be Bhatta, was proud. Not Balabha Acharya, but Balabha Bhatta, a learned fellow, learned Brahmana, wanted, when visiting Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he wanted him to understand that he had written a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam and was very enthusiastic to have him hear his commentary so he could evaluate it. But Mahaprabhu recognized he was proud, so he wasn't very, very willing to hear. But the man kept saying, and finally he said, "This is a better commentary than Sridhar Swami. You should hear it." And, the comment, one who says he's better than the Swami is no better than the prostitute. That was a wake-up call for Balabhata, a learned prostitute. Because of pride. He wanted recognition and was doing this and that and the other to get Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's acknowledgement and recognition. But you don't recognize pride, however good a writer he was or wasn't. Pride destroys things. And there's several more examples. Pride is a big problem. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had a spiritual master. And his spiritual master was? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's spiritual master was? Starts with an I. Little prompt from your friends. Ishwarapuri. So Ishwarapuri was a disciple of Madhavendra Puri. And Madhavendra Puri had more than one disciple. One of those more than one disciples, besides Ishwarapuri, was Ramchandra Puri. And during the latter stage of Madhavendra Puri's life, one of the things that he was doing was he was tasting a verse in the mood of the gopis feeling separation from Krishna and saying it over and over and over and over again, relishing the flavor of their love for Krishna in separation from Krishna, the love and separation in the mood of conjugal love. He was, on a spiritual platform. He was exploring and entering into that mood. Ramchandra Puri came along and heard him doing this and questioned him or, confronted him. What are you doing? You're not reading Vedanta Sutra and you're singing this other song like a love song of a lover and beloved, and what kind of sannyasi is this? Something along those lines. Madhavendra Puri told him, "Get out of town. I don't want to see your face again. If I die seeing your face, I'll go to hell. You can go wherever you like, but go somewhere. I don't want to see you again." Ooh. Pretty heavy. But Ramchandra Puri, was happy to go somewhere else because he felt Madhavendra Puri was deviating from sannyas life. And he continued his program of finding faults and finding faults and finding faults. And he came to Puri and wanted to find faults with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but he couldn't find fault. So he invented a fault. This is a painting of the pastime found in Chaitanya Charitamrita in Gambhira. Now, Gambhira is much smaller than what this painting shows, but in any case, he saw some ants on the floor, pointing to the ants, saying, "Aha! Here's a fault. You're eating too many sweets, and so ants have come. Aha! What kind of sannyasi are you? No, Mahaprabhu was not eating sweets, and there's ants all over the place in different places in India, many places in India. But Ramchandra Puri couldn't find anything, so he invented something. No, one who does like this the arising from pride, then it leads to not only a heart that's dirty, but then this other business of finding fault, whether there's fault or not fault. Just the very act of fault finding, making it one's business to find faults. Very problematic. Here's another. Rupa Kaviraj. It's a long story about Rupa Kaviraj, but he was a good person that became a fallen person. Pride goeth before the fall. He was very learned and had good teachers, and because he had good teachers, he had very elevated teachings, but he had become proud from those elevated teachings, and he did two things. One of the two things he did was he had a disciple who he was training his disciple to enter into Gopi Bhav. So he had his male disciple dress as a gopi and practice being a gopi, which is bogus. Taki Beki, it's called. So he was doing that. And some other without the rest, he had some other teachings that were deviant. And because he is very learned and eloquent speaker, he would speak. So he went and resided in Vrindavan. He resided at Radhakund in Vrindavan, and would give Bhagavatam classes daily. And there were many people coming to hear him speak. And one of those persons that came to hear him speak, her name is mentioned here, Krishna Priya Thakurani. And Krishna Priya Thakurani had this practice, not just practice, she was spontaneously, constantly chanting. Prabhupada had one disciple that had that practice too, Ushik Prabhu. When you're having a conversation, while you're speaking to him, he's chanting. Now, how can you chant and hear what somebody's saying at the same time? And then he has to answer back. He has to stop chanting at least for that much time. But then he would resume chanting and chanting and chanting and chanting. And he was, Kirtaniya Sadahari, literally. That's what he was attempting. But Krishna Priya Thakurani wasn't just practice. She was chanting like that. So she attended his class, Rupa Kaviraj's class. And while he's giving class, he stopped the class and scolded her, like publicly and strongly and nasty. How can you chant the Mahamantra and hear the Srimad Bhagavatam at the same time? And she said, it's just my tongue won't stop chanting. I'm paying attention. No, anyway, that was her reply. And so he rebuked her badly, publicly. And according to this narration, everyone saw when he did like that to her, he fell. From that moment, he fell. And later he became more deviant and started his own teaching and his own sampradaya, and Hemalata Thakurani snatched his neck beads from his neck. You're an unqualified person. You're not even a Vaishnava. So he fell into bad graces of elevated Vaishnavas for his offending Vaishnavas. Here's some scriptural instruction for us. Same. And he is giving some teachings to Vasudeva. This is the 11th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, early parts of the 11th canto. The situation was Narada was invited to participate in a yajna at Vasudev's residence in Dwarka. Vasudev wanted to have a big yajna, and with the big yajna, then he would increase the prosperity and well-being of all the citizens in Dwarka. It was a big festival. So Narada is speaking to Vasudev on that occasion. Narada is making reference to the conversation between the Navyogendras and Maharaj Nimi. That's where that passage comes from. O king, this is Kavi speaking to King Nimi. One who accepts this process of devotional service will never be affected by pride. Even while running with eyes closed, he will never trip or fall. So here's somebody with their eyes closed or blindfolded. That is not working. Fully, it's stuck. So this is a celebrated verse that's referred to again and again and again, and again and again. What does it mean? You will never, while running with your eyes closed, you'll never trip and fall. And here's a very standard, nice example given by Sridhar Swami. Closing one's eyes refers to being in ignorance of standard Vedic literatures. That's closing one's eyes. As it is said, the Shruti and Smriti scriptures are the two eyes of the Brahmanas. Lacking one of them, the Brahmana is half blind, and deprived of both, he is considered completely blind. That point is, if one has come to the stage of spontaneous devotion, one may or may not know the details of Shruti and Smriti. But if their attraction for the personality of Godhead is genuine, even with their eyes closed, they won't trip and fall. That's the meaning. No, it's puzzling. And there's different renditions of what that means, but Sridhar Swami's rendering is very nice and very clear. We're almost done. We all know of the visit that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made traveling in South India to Sri Rangam, and one of the pastimes that he performed, there was an illiterate Brahmana who was reciting Bhagavad Gita, and all the Brahmanas were making fun of him because he was illiterate. So he was holding the book and acting as if he was reciting Bhagavad Gita, but he was illiterate, and they knew it, so they would poke fun at him. And you know the story. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw this scene, he saw the Brahmana was crying. And he knew that the Brahmana was illiterate, so he asked the Brahmana, "Why are you crying?" He said, "I'm illiterate, and please don't poke fun. It's not nice. The other Brahmanas that live here, they poke fun at me all the time. So please, you don't do the same. You seem to be a very respectable Brahmana. I'm not poking fun. I just want to know why you're crying." And then he told his personal story. My spiritual master ordered me daily recite Bhagavad Gita. So I follow his order, even though I'm illiterate. So I just mumble something. But as I'm mumbling something, my mind is absorbed in the picture on the cover of Krishna being the chariot driver of Arjuna, and the kindness that Krishna is displaying to his own devotee of being the chariot driver of his own devotee. The love between Krishna and his devotee is so overwhelming. That's the cause of my crying. And Mahaprabhu, of course, said, "You're the real Brahmana because you understand the essence and the message of Bhagavad Gita." So pride is a problem, and simplicity is a virtue. Simplicity and humility and leading into genuine bhakti, that's beneficial. Here's a nice teaching on humility from Rupa Goswami, from Padyavali. Oh, Lord, no one is more merciful than you, and no one is more pathetic than I. I am very lowly and fallen. Oh, Lord Yadunath, please reflect on my case and do whatever is appropriate. You can do with me whatever you like. But, it's obvious what he likes. But at least the person offering the prayer, please show your mercy. But show your mercy is to do with me whatever you like. This is me, you're you, I'm coming before you. I have no qualification to come before you, but here I am. I'm appealing to you. Reflect on my case and do with me whatever you think is appropriate. Well, that's open-ended. Just two more references and we're done for the evening. This is Shikshastaka number 8. We all know the verse. Yata tata va vididhatu lampato. He can do whatever he likes, but still he alone and no one else is the worshipful Lord of my heart. So this humility and submission this is Shikshastaka 8. This is the conclusion of the whole message of Shikshastaka. It's the submission with complete humility. Pride is completely gone. Here is Bhaktivinoda Thakur's commentary. The cart represents the load produced by old and recently acquired bad habits, by laxity, and by pride. So bad habits come from those three. Bad habits, laxity, and pride. The mood created by thinking of baby Krishna breaks, this is his commentary on the Shakatasura. The mood created by thinking of baby Krishna breaks the cart or removes this evil. The whirlwind demon represents pride in being learned and the consequent use of faulty arguments and dry logic, the quest for liberation and association with such people. This includes all types of atheists believing in material causality. Lots of people in that category. Being merciful on seeing the affection for the devotee to him, baby Krishna kills that whirlwind and removes the obstacles to worship. Pride, stemming from intoxication with wealth, which breeds violence, illicit sex, and addiction to wine, finally loose speaking, and shameless brutality to other living beings is represented by Yamala Arjun trees. Krishna, being merciful, removes this sin in breaking the Yamala Arjun trees. So we're fortunate for us, by the process of sadhana, and sincerely rendered, Krishna acknowledges since sadhana, that's sincerely rendered, and we don't have the strength to do all these things, but Krishna has the strength, and we're in good hands with Krishna. Pride, deceit, harming others, cruelty, represented by Kaliya, must be given up by the devotee. So there's some things that Krishna does and some things that we have to do. And getting rid of pride, of course, we make an effort to do that, and then it's facilitated by the all-powerful Krishna. So that's our topic for this evening, a little different than Ram Navami topics, at least from my perspective, but speaking on that for 3 weeks in a row. But it's a fundamental teaching. for all persons that want to become spiritually elevated. To become spiritually elevated, pride is a certain obstacle. It'll destroy any attempt to go beyond materialism into spiritual reality. And all these different teachings, take your pick or combination, they're all pointing to the same conclusion. Genuine humility freed from the material conception of pride in what I have or what I can achieve and all of that. It doesn't leave us blank. It just leaves us with the proper mood of service and submission and surrender, depending upon Krishna for everything. It's a nice position. It's an honest position. Okay. That's it for this evening. I think it's time to turn on this nice little light up here. Yay. Oh. So this is my final evening for visit in Palatine, and off to other places soon, like tomorrow. So it's been nice, very nice to visit. Kishori look fabulous. I haven't seen them in a long time, and they're beautiful and very merciful and very nicely cared for, at least apparently. And two of our nice pujaris weren't even around. Leela Manjari and Naveen Krishna went on a vacation to some kind of a retreat in the countryside in France. Yeah. I don't know how. He knows the story. I don't know the story, but somehow they both went. But still, the deities look nice. Any comments or discussion or topics you'd like to go over?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Guru Maharaj, you mentioned about the pride that the gopis had. I was wondering, what is the purpose of pride in the spiritual world?
It isn't.
There is no purpose.
No. It's not pride like we know it. It's a different kind. Everything is there, but it's not contaminated.
But there is no actual purpose, or there is no use.
You're asking purpose. Their happiness. How do you describe transcendental pride? That's what you're asking me. What's the purpose of transcendental pride? The purpose is strengthening the moods, the feelings of love. Everything is for that purpose. That's the purpose behind everything. So from whence does it arise? It's just, it facilitates Krishna to do what Krishna did, which was he disappeared. And then it facilitates them feeling separation after being with Krishna, then sudden separation from Krishna. And then Krishna's enjoying that mood that they have, and then he shows up again. And it's the purpose is strengthening and mixing different mellows of love for Krishna. That's the purpose.
I have one more question.
Go ahead.
How is pride and false ego connected, and is it one preceding other, or is
We're going back to the material world, right? The first of the elements that manifests when the living entities contact pradhan is false ego. So that precedes chronologically in the unfolding of everything. Because pride is within the mind, and before the mind exists, there's the false ego. this whole Sankhya system is very interesting and complicated, both. But the most subtle of the material forces is false ego, false pride. Follows behind that. That's within the mind. I in mind. Okay.
Thank you.
What are you doing in Palatine, by the way?
Me and Mohan are just visiting here. Just visiting for spring break.
Spring break. Welcome. How long is your spring break for? Huh? A whole week. Yay. So you have some friends here, huh? Yeah. Okay. Who's got, yes, right in front of you.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Thank you for the class and coming out to our home today.
Thank you
Gracing
for
us.
inviting all. Look, did you look behind you? See how many people are here?
Well, thank you all for coming. As far as I can remember, something that was taught to me was when something nice comes to us, recognition, for example, instead of rejecting the recognition, I can remember the teachers through who I have received the recognition and pass it on.
You said the same thing I said.
Oh,
But thank you.
I didn't get it.
Yeah. Yeah. I use different words, but that was what I said. We receive something. So credit goes to where that source is from which you receive that something. So you don't say no, no, no. You say the source from which that you're honoring goes to that source. So you just pass it on to the source. I discouraged you. Oh. Are you feeling discouraged? Oh, okay. Thank you. You got another one? You're just taking notes. Okay. Anybody else? Here's the microphone.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. Maharaj, fundamental question, what is the difference between Brahmana and Vaishnava?
Well, there's a whole book by Bhaktisiddhanta on that topic. Brahmanism and Vaishnavism. You familiar? If you want like, in depth, that's a good place to go. But Brahmana means one who knows Brahman, and Vaishnava is one who knows Vishnu. So they're Vaishnava Brahmanas, and they're Brahmanas that aren't Vaishnavas. There's those that have some book knowledge or some kind of conception of, and in pursuit of Brahman, as in the Brahmajyoti or the impersonal Brahman. But some of those Brahmanas aren't just impersonal Brahman vadis. They know Vishnu, etc. So that's the Vaishnava or Vaishnava Brahman, because Vaishnava. Right?
Yes, Maharaj.
But there's a lot to say about it. Ask Bhaktisiddhanta, he'll tell you. Anything else? You got the microphone like you're ready to say something else.
No, in the Sri Ranga Kshetra, in the slides which you shared, where the illiterate Brahmana,
Yeah.
when he revealed his mind to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about the compassion of a Krishna to his devotees,
Yeah.
if I remember correct, Mahaprabhu said that you are the true Brahmana or something like
You're
that.
the true learned scholar of the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
You understand Bhagavad Gita properly. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Maharaj. That's
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So you spoke about, and my husband was also referring to, when recognition comes to you, and then you get pride, we can relate it to whom we've received it from. And I'm thinking of scenarios where we perform an action, and we might not feel that we have done so greatly, and while the others might be feeling that we've done a great job. And my understanding is that is also related with false ego, in a way, because if I'm not able to really recognize where this has come from, and if I'm not able to receive well this appreciation that is coming to me, that is also related to my false ego. Could you elaborate in those circumstances as to how we deal with pride or false ego, whatever we want to call that?
Your premise is very interesting. That's the starting point of my response to what you just said. If I heard you correctly, you're saying when honor comes to you and you are literally not representing that which is being honored, failure to acknowledge that honor that's come to you is another type of false ego.
And yes, Maharaj, but also I am feeling, let's say I want to give an example. Let's say I cook something,
Yeah, let's say
and I don't feel that I have done a great job, whereas others might feel that, and they're giving me some appreciation, and the failure to really receive that appreciation and pass it on, relate it to where I've gotten that ability from, is also coming under
False ego.
false ego. And I'm trying to understand how do I navigate that?
Okay, well, I don't, I'd have to think carefully about it, but initially, hearing this now for the second time, I don't think it's arising from false ego. Supposing you burn something and somebody says, oh, that was really good. And it's not false ego that I should accept this burned offering is very palatable when I know it's not. No, so there's degrees and gradations, and so it's not a given. My understanding is it's not just burning something, but just where it's not necessarily my failure, my inability to pass on some recognition to others is due to false ego. It's not a one-to-one correlation. There may be some circumstances where that's the case, but it's not a one-to-one. It's not an always situation. But so back to your question, how to navigate when praise comes and it's. What does Krishna say in chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita? What Krishna says in chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita is, among other things, we're in a place of duality. And sometimes. Sometimes there's honor, and sometimes there's dishonor. Sometimes honor comes and it's not deserving. Sometimes dishonor comes and it's not deserving. But it's just a place of duality. Sometimes and sometimes. I'm standing still, and sometimes I'm being honored, sometimes I'm being dishonored. Or I'm moving, so it's just one way to process. The premise that you just presented is, here we are, place of duality, or one man's food is another man's poison. For some person, this is really nice, and some person that's for something that's really nice, it's really terrible. And they may not say it's terrible. They may say it's very nice when it's not very nice. It's not false ego. My response to your question is, A lot has to do with reality, with a capital R. And how do you handle reality with a capital R if you're not connected to reality with a capital R? Then that's where the problem comes. So now back to the question of which comes first, false ego or pride. It's false ego comes first. So that's confirming what you said. Because of false ego, I can't see what's what. And because I can't see what's what and others can't see what's what, then there's some cacophony of views out there. And is it resting upon false ego? That's one way to look at it, sure. Does that answer your question, or does that confuse things?
No, it does. Can I also add?
Please.
Because in this particular circumstance, I think there are places where I go to, like, I am not going to cook at all. That's my go-to reaction. Like, I'm not going to cook any further because I don't feel I've done a great job here. And that's
false ego.
And that is yes, I understand that is false ego, and that is I'm trying to navigate that space
So
for
let
myself.
go of that. I'm not going to because I'm not good. That's false ego. It's a negative false ego. It's not a positive false ego. It's a negative false ego. Definitely false. So just let it go. You serve because that's what we do. That's who we are. And however it is, as best you can, you serve, and that's what you do because it's purifying. And Krishna will smile. Like a child. There's this event that's happened many, many years ago, and it's still in front of my mind. Here's what happened. I was traveling to Singapore. I was visiting a group of devotees in Singapore. And it's a long flight to get to Singapore from where I came from. And when I got there, it was, one of those ungodly hours, super, super early in the morning, and I was jet lagged out to the max. So I went, took a shower, and as I'm putting on my dhoti, this little 4-year-old girl didn't even knock on the door. She just burst in the room while I'm putting on my dhoti, and she couldn't wait. She had to give me this necklace that she made with beads that are different colors and different sizes and, funky. But she was like so happy. She couldn't wait to give me this gift. And it's in my mind today. It's such a nice expression. It was, I didn't say to her, this is junk. It was the offering with which she made it that made it, so to this day, memorable. Very, very nice, very sweet. And and now that little girl is not a little girl anymore, and so there's still some relationship with that same feeling. It didn't just evaporate. So, from me to her, and from her to me, still there. So don't take shelter of the false ego thing. You do what you can do according to your capacity, and you make that offering. That's what we do. We want to learn how to make nicer necklaces, or how to do whatever better, sing better, cook better, dance better, speak better, whatever better. We want Krishna to smile. That's all. Bhakti, and not the finesse with which we execute things. It's not a zero. It's important to do things nicely, but that's not the essence. It's just the love with which we make the offerings. You know that one. Okay. Yes.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Maharaj, I'm trying to understand that when some appreciation comes and I'm saying that this is Guru and Krishna's mercy. And at the same time, I'm acknowledging and appreciating that someone has taught me this particular
Yeah.
thing.
And it taught you how to give the right answer, too.
Yes, sir. So my thought is I'm just not answering to answer it that way, but I'm realizing that it is Guru and Krishna's mercy. But I'm not, I don't feel that I'm there and I'm saying
okay.
it really,
Okay,
from
so-
my heart.
Okay.
And I do understand that even sometimes.
Okay.
So,
So
can,
now what?
can you kindly help me
Yeah,
to
practice.
connect these two?
Yeah, you practice. Abhyasa. It's Bhagavad Gita. It's, it's Rupa Goswami's teaching. Sadhana, you practice.
I just wanted to understand that how should I see that? Because my mind is telling me that, okay, this one has taught you this.
I understand what your dilemma is. It's theoretical and it's not realized.
Yeah, yeah,
I got it. So now what do you do? That's where your question is.
yeah.
I'm not there yet. What do I do? That's your question.
Yeah, so practicing like that will
Yeah.
help me see the mercy really.
I invite you to go back to that verse that Mukunda recited from Manushiksha and just meditate on that for the next week. And you've got the answer to your question. And then it moves from regular to spontaneous, from with some genuine feeling. And it's not going to happen. It's a lifelong cultivation, but that's how you can move from regulative to spontaneous. It's a roadmap with all the different signals embedded, appealing to us, pleading to us, clasping our feet. Rupa Raghunath Das is begging us to come to spontaneous devotion, giving up pride. Hitva dum bum.
Thank you.
You have something? Krishna Priya, you got the mic?
I had a follow-up on this.
Go right ahead. There's some question up here when you're done. No, you got the mic. Go,
Okay.
go for it.
So on that topic that Amara Mataji just asked, I've seen that when we train children about the importance of passing on, especially when they receive appreciation and success, when success comes to them, sometimes I've seen that because they haven't internalized that what that means, they just blank out. Like when especially when someone comes to a child, irrespective of the age, and say, "Oh, you did so nice," they just like blank out. Sometimes I feel, is it better for them to just, like a parrot, say it? It's Guru and Krishna's mercy, or how important is at their developmental level to internalize this?
The school teacher in you is coming out. And parent as well. Let's see what your son has to say about that. Madan Mohan, you want to answer your mom's question? You've been down this road with her a few times, I'm sure. He's nodding. You want to reply? You're passing the buck. Okay. He's smart, young man. You can tell your friends later what your mom, what the real story is. Whether one says or doesn't say, there's a couple of things. It shouldn't stick. Or, as you said, blank out. Because then it's so impersonal or voidistic. are not helpful for bhakti. So pick something that's a little helpful for bhakti. I mean, you can say, you know, you can say many things, but don't to say nothing is not ideal. So to say something that's I'm not feeling, what's that? Depends on, you know, what's the understanding of why I'm saying it. You know, it's a little bit embedded in her question. I could just be genuine. You're a teacher, so you want your students to understand. Be genuine, not just be a parrot. So say what you're feeling and mean it and you know and grow with it and all of those nice educational things. But it's also an educational thing to be. I'm looking at role models, and role models model like this, and I want to be like my role model, so I'll speak it wanting to be like my role model, but I know I'm not there yet, but I'm going to model the role model. I'm going to follow. So it depends on the consciousness behind what you're doing. In other words, encourage that, you know, as a mother or a teacher or a friend or as a, you know, sadhaka to another sadhaka. Where do we want to go, and why? Thoughtful, mindful, present.
A few questions, Guraj, if you're willing. So, all of us have some gifts from Krishna, and yet those very gifts, because of the impurities in our heart, can become our nemesis. So it seems that in this stage where we're still cleansing our heart, it's better to exercise some discrimination in stepping into our gifts and sharing them with the world. And yet, sometimes I wonder if that is a disservice.
Why? You wonder if it's a disservice because
we're not fully stepping into.
Well, you're saying something similar to what she's saying. The language is different, but to when it's coming from something inside, fine. And it's not coming from something inside, then what? What do you do? Or what would you recommend someone to do? When you're not there yet, what do you do? Fake it? Put on some cosmetic, make it look nice? What do you do? What would you recommend for someone to do, or what's an appropriate? I'm holding the mirror up for you to take a look and see, tell me what you see.
Transparency and honesty. And
okay.
Authenticity. Yeah.
Okay. You're saying the same thing she's saying. You know, so how do you what's the transparency and honesty? I use the example because it's easy. Someone, probably more than one person prepared the prasadam for this evening. And some people are going to like this and some people are going to like that. And they go, oh, who made this one? And, you know, so anyway, some appreciation comes. And so I'm going to be honest and say, you know, I did the cooking, but to be transparent and honest, I'm learning. And if you then you have the options to can say something that's honest and genuine and personal and personable. I bet there's 50 other people that could prepare this much better than me. I'm trying to learn how to do it better. So There's different things. Depends upon the situation and the circumstance and the other person and the relationship with the other person, and how you're going to respond, and still be genuine and truthful. Okay.
I was heading more in the direction of Guru Maharaj. Sometimes it seems to me it's better to exercise some discrimination or shy away from even.
Shy away from what?
Fully realizing our gifts until there is sufficient purity to not let those gifts become our nemesis.
So what is? I'm not sure what you're saying. Are you saying that we should, with discrimination, we should shy away from getting involved at all? Like her comment is just being blank or being numb. So someone says, and I just like recoil because I don't want to get involved in something that not I'm not I'm not fit to be a proper respondent to. You're going to translate, huh?
Marge, I think she's going with this is there may be service opportunities where
Yes.
I know it's going to be in the limelight and potentially gain more appreciation than what I probably deserve. Should I maybe shy away of such opportunities?
He hit your button. I'm going to give it depends kind of an answer. It depends on. Depends. Back to this question, you do the best you can. And whatever that is, that's the best you can. And you make that as an offering to Krishna because you want Krishna to smile. And I know I'm going into this zone where it's using my discrimination. I'm at risk of getting some recognition, and I'm not fit to get that recognition and let it not, send me in a bad place. So just stay away from that situation that I might get some recognition for. Yes, that's what's being expressed. Yes. We have different personalities. I mean, and according to, I'm thinking of Tamal Krishna Maharaj. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj was, Sakatuya. I've attended Vyasa Puja events where he is the recipient of a Vyasa Puja addresses, in Houston and some other places. And every single devotee says, and then he gave me the sauce. Every single devotee. What does that mean? It's different for different persons, but, he could be really heavy. And he wouldn't spare anybody. Man, woman, child, he would, that heavy. And then he gave me the sauce. And that was just the phrase that they use. So when you take whatever that means. And so that was just his personality. But he got roasted by Prabhupada because he could take it, and he was preparing him to take a leadership role when he'd have to just endure whatever the circumstance because he had to be able to handle it. So Prabhupada gave him trial by fire, and he could handle it. And he was a powerful leader, and he gave people the sauce. I received it a couple of times. I remember, boy, it was intense. I'm laughing. It was intense. So it's it's different for different people. We have personalities. So for you, maybe it is a good thing, and for someone else, maybe a different. Knowing that there's going to be some recognition, let me go forward, because what's more important to me is that Krishna is pleased, or Prabhupada is pleased, or our predecessor or acharyas are pleased, than my little petty stuff. Somebody may be like that, and that's fine. And then here comes some praise, and they get, irritated, agitated, in the wrong way. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But their focus is this higher principle. So some different persons are different.
On another thread, Guru Maharaj.
Try again, huh?
Oh no, another question.
Another question.
I dare not try again. In the evolution of bhakti, from unsteady to all the way to bhava, is there a certain point when pride is totally gone?
Yeah. You become a gopi. I mean, do gopis have pride? Yes. But not pride like our pride. Do gopis have lust? Yeah, they have lust, but not like our lust. Everything is in this stage of perfection in the residence of Vrindavan and epitomized by the gopis. So, yes, there's a place where there's no pride, and they're proud. There's no pride as we know it. And there's another kind. Okay?
And finally, Guru Maharaj, I was really intrigued by the part of your presentation where you were sharing the connection between pride and harsh speech. And that's of particular interest to me.
Yes.
And I understand that pride in our heart leads to insensitive speech.
Yes. Yes.
Because language is a reflection of our consciousness.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if the other way is also true.
Which is?
So as we work on refining our language, that pride will be reduced? Or is that a material way to look at something that is a spiritual?
Behavior can influence values, and values can influence behaviors. So either way, it ultimately is dependent upon consciousness that Krishna is to be pleased, that makes everything align properly. And then the adjustments in language and other things, the behavior, the measurable things, that's okay, but that's not where the essence is. I'm going to end. Madan Mohan, you want to add anything to this nice discussion? You're a guest of honor tonight.
I mean, just thank you for giving a nice class today, Maharaj. I really enjoyed it.
Okay. Well, we won't see you tomorrow. You want something? Okay.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. So, how is it that, so how can it often be seen as prideful to, admit to a talent?
To admit to a
talent.
A talent. My answer to that question is depends on who's at the center. You understand? Do I elaborate, or that's good?
That's good.
Okay. What we don't want is I'm at the center. What we do want is that Krishna's the center. So acknowledging a talent, you're not at the center. Where did the talent come from? And how's the talent being used? That's the consideration. So acknowledging talent. I mean, what did Prabhupada do when he praised and so forth and so on? And we had different responses depending upon the time and place and circumstance, but nothing stuck because he wasn't at the center. So there's a place, but Krishna's at the center, and his Guru Maharaj is at the center. Right? Okay, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
His Holiness Prabhupada Swami Maharaj ki jai.